Welcome to a quick chat with the unemployed alcoholic. Who am I talking to?
Well, Aaron, that depends on where I am. I know that's a weird thing to say, but at work, I'm Dr. Jennifer White, and at home, I'm Mrs. Seymour.
Those are two completely different names, huh?
They are, yeah. On my driver's license, it's hyphenated White Seymour, but yeah, I'm both.
Yeah, and I guess that would make sense because what's the name of your dental practice again?
I decided to name it Bright White Dental. I bought the office, and of course, you want to have this grand name that isn't just something generic about the location or anything like that. And I was talking to one of my really good friends, and at one point I said Bright White Dental, and he responded with Bright White, and a little picture of Gizmo from the Gremlins. And I said, "Oh, that's it." And so that's how it was born. The other thing I did with the name is I spell bright, Brite, just because it looks prettier next to white, even though it's spelled wrong, which is actually pretty funny for somebody like me who really wants everything to be spelled correctly and proper grammar.
Well, that small tweak in the spelling, it seemed to work well for Miller Lite. So
Right, exactly. I think it looks better on the can, right? Could you imagine if it was a GHT? It would just not fit as well, right?
right. Bright White Dental featuring Dr. Jen White probably fits a little better than Bright White Dental featuring Dr. Jen Seymour.
Right. Yeah, so I met my husband in dental school and I practiced with him for a little bit and we decided are we going to work together or are we going to be married? So we decided to separate as far as practices go and work in separate places. I think it's really interesting how we went to the same school, we sat right next to each other all 4 years of school, yet we are very different in our philosophies and thought processes and how we want to run the business. And so that's why we decided just to completely, divorce as far as business is concerned. He's completely separate and I always thought we would practice together. It just makes sense, right? And my sister actually said, "Your motto could be with us, you'll see more white." And I was like, that's awesome, but that really never came to fruition. So uh, he does his thing, and I do my thing, and we are definitely much happier not working together.
Yeah, well, that sounds like the right priorities there. Keep the home life happy, even if there's some possibility of missing out on some things professionally.
Right. Yeah. I'm super passionate about what I do and he loves what he does, but not to the level I do. Like eat, sleep, breathe dentistry, which sounds so weird, I guess, probably to a lot of people, but it's something I'm very passionate about and I have been ever since I broke my teeth before I started 4th grade. That one incident changed my life. People talk about how certain things happen and events that just completely pivot the direction of their life. And I got to say, the day I fell off my bike and broke my 2 front teeth completely changed the trajectory of my life.
Wow. Wow.
In actually such a way that up at my office, above the door where you enter the treatment area, actually has a really pretty script and it says, "All because she broke her front teeth." Because that's really what the whole story is about. So I fell off my bike, broke my front teeth, and I was just mortified. I was hanging out with my friends, and of course, there's like the cute older guy, and you're like, "Oh my god, yes, I'm in 4th grade." But you just have those little crushes or whatever. And I'm like, "Oh my gosh." And he's like, "It's okay, you're still beautiful." And I'm like, "No, I'm not. I'm ugly and hideous. Still look at me." But my mom took me to the dentist, and in an hour, with no pain that I can remember, they put me back together, and I just thought that was the coolest thing ever. And then I went on to 5th grade and I got braces. And I remember walking into one of my appointments and seeing Dr. Brenda. And this was early 90s. And Dr. Brenda had this big, beautiful hair, this beautiful silk shirt, this really cool dress, these Julia Robert or hooker boots. I mean, she just looked amazing. And I'm like, this is what I want to do. So I decided at that point, I'm going to be an orthodontist, and I asked my dentist, like, how do you go about doing this? And he said, well, I went to IU, I majored in biology, and then I applied to dental school. And so I did that. I applied to Indiana University, I majored in biology, and I applied to Indiana University Dental School. So I just did exactly what he said. So
Wow,
what?
wow, so
Yeah.
it sounds like, you had kind of a traumatic, incident where you fell off your bike and broke your teeth, and it changed what you were seeing in the mirror,
Oh yeah.
and then that was corrected through a dentist, and then in addition to that, you saw somebody that portrayed kind of an image that you really connected with, huh?
Yes. But then at that point, so then I'm in school. I'm in dental school and we get into the clinical aspect of it and I get to ortho where I'm finally like excited. I was like, "Yes, this is what I want to do." And then I realized, Aaron, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, this takes so long to do to see anything happen." I mean, I don't know that people get their braces off and cry tears of joy.
Oh, okay.
They're like, "Oh, finally I can eat some candy." They don't you don't have that life-changing moment because it's such a slow process. You see it coming and then all it is like, okay, the metal's gone. And if they do Invisalign or something like that with clear aligners, they don't even have that. It just all kind of happens gradually. What gets me out of bed is when I have somebody who has a failing dentition and really their only option is a denture, and I get done and I put the denture in, take their teeth out, put the denture in, and they sit up and they look at it and they start crying because for the first
Ah.
time they can see something that they're proud to show off. Oh my gosh, I get goosebumps. Do you have goosebumps right now? Like that just I love it. That or just, changing somebody's smile, the kid that breaks their tooth and I come in and I fix it, like, it just took me right back. Every time I do that, it just takes me back to that time when I had my own smile fixed. So that's when I was like, "This is what I need to do."
So it sounds like with orthodontics, it's more of a long-term process, gradual
Correct.
improvements. Whereas what really jumps out to you is that experience of like when you were in fourth grade, or when you've got patients that come in, and the day that they come in with perhaps even a negative self-image, and then boom, you
Absolutely.
can do something that helps them immediately.
Immediately, absolutely, yes, absolutely, and,
You
I don't know,
like
yeah,
immediate
I was gonna
results.
say, maybe that's the millennial in me, I want it all and I want it now.
Right, right.
I love being able to give that to somebody, like, instantly. They look better and they feel better about themselves, and then, when you do see them out in public and then they smile, but then they, like, still have that jerk to go and try to cover their mouth, and I'm like, "No, you don't have to cover it anymore," but, so for so many years that they just wanted to hide it. So, like, once we can get them over that and excited, you can see people, like, flourish, and so it's life-changing, it really is.
Now, I've been hearing a lot lately in news and other things about the impact of social media on our self image. What are you seeing in the dental world? Do you think that social media is negatively impacting people's self image in general?
I I don't yeah, I think so because of the filters. I mean, I'm guilty myself. I'll take a selfie. I'm like, "Yeah, I'm looking good." And I look at the selfie. I'm like, "Oh gosh, what in the world? I don't look like that." But what you don't realize is, people put so many filters and they can make their eyes bigger, make all their fine lines go away, and make their teeth whiter. What you got to just remember is that it's not real. What you're seeing is not real, even though I look at my selfies, I'm like, "Ooh," but I mean, I still post them, so.
Yeah, so it's had an impact, but if we just can take a minute and say, you know what we're seeing on other people's social media feeds is edited, it's filtered, it's touched up, and not representative of reality.
Oh, yeah, and I mean, it goes past looks. I mean, it goes even to the people that, posting their happy family pictures. You had to bribe that kid to smile. This one wouldn't stop crying. They were there for 3 hours to get that one good picture, and they're like, "Oh, happy family." That's not real, but people aren't gonna post the crying pictures. They're not gonna post all that. So it's important to just remember that you gotta be real, but, as far as social media, I am just overseeing all of the hate. on social
Mm,
media, and people just feeling they have that protection of the keyboard that they can say whatever they want. And it's like, you really got to think, if you are going to say this to somebody, they see that, they read that and hear that. Would you say that to their face? Like, if you wouldn't say that to their face, and don't even like, "But, oh yeah, I would." No. If you won't say that to their face, don't type it.
yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah, people through the lens of social media tend to lose their humanity.
Oh, absolutely.
They don't understand that, there is a real person on the other side of a lot of these things, and our negative comments have tremendous impact on people.
Right. Well, and I think that that's why the bullying and stuff like that has gotten so huge among teenagers. And then you see the increase in suicide. It's because, you tell someone whatever, hate your shirt or whatever, you don't see that kid being sad about that, so they don't get that type of feedback from it. You know what I mean? So I don't know. That's just my thing. I'm just glad I'm not a kid. I mean, I got bullied, but at least I got bullied to my face.
Yeah, yeah, the good old days when a bully would just knock the books out of your hands.
Yeah, exactly.
So, you had this, kinda lightning rod, experience in 4th grade where your appearance was altered, negatively, and then you got fixed up by a dentist, and, that kinda sparked things, huh? What else was going on around that time?
4th grade? I don't know. That was a long time ago, Aaron. That was a really long time ago. Yeah, I don't know. Well, I got a perm. That was bad. And in my 4th grade picture, I mean, geez, yeah, I got a perm and I got a zit front and center on my forehead. So, I mean, all around, it doesn't look like it was very good. Oh, actually, actually is something very interesting. My 4th grade teacher, thanks for digging this up, told my mom in a parent teacher conference that she didn't understand what all of the other teachers ever saw in me, because she didn't think I would ever amount to anything.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she's probably gone by now. She was pretty old back then. But yeah, I don't know. I'm lucky that I'm one of those people that if you tell me I can't do something, I'm going to do it no matter what, just to like prove you wrong.
Hmm.
But I'm always been like that. And I think it's a part of my odd family. Well, as my dad says, we put the fun in dysfunctional. I think everybody has a little touch of a dysfunction in their family. But I remember when I told my dad that I was pregnant, he was like, "Oh, there goes your figure." And I'm like, "Thanks. All right. Okay." And I remember sending my dad a picture after I did a photo shoot 11 months postpartum after having Zach and having gained over 85 pounds, because I'm only 5'3". So to hit 200 pounds is pretty intense. But yeah, 11 months postpartum, I lost it all. I thought I looked pretty good. And I sent a picture to my dad and I said, "Hey, dad, you said I couldn't do it." And he said, "Work, didn't it?"
So it sounds like that's kinda your MO. If something challenging comes up or somebody is coming against you on something, to use that as fuel to accomplish
Oh,
things.
yeah. Oh, yeah. You're not in my office and you can't see me right now, but I'm sitting in my office, and behind me there's a bunch of swords and medals and stuff all hanging on the wall with a little rack that says, "She believed she could, so she did."
So, sounds like you're very driven.
Just a bit. Um
What's
um
it what does it feel like to hit one of those goals, to set something out like that,
Oh, I
uh
cry like a baby. I look so tough on the exterior, but I'm a soft, gooey worm center. Yeah, I cry.
you
Uh,
cry?
yeah, I do. Just tears of just, oh my god, did it. I think it's because I hold so much in, that's the only way I have an outlet, is I just leak.
You hold so much in?
Yeah, I don't know. I the people that know me and are closest to me, if I'm excited, I never like jumping up and down. I don't just like, I just hold it all in. And um I don't know. I guess I'm getting better at letting it out, but I just cry, little baby, I just leak. um my treatment coordinator at the office, Danielle, she actually is she makes me laugh. The other day, she texted me this big text and she's super excited and super outgoing and very loud and talks with her hands, and she's like, "Oh my god, I'm so excited." Blah, 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 blah," just goes on and on, all the exclamation points and all the emojis. And I literally responded with, "I'm excited too, period." And she's like, "Oh my god, that period means that you are so excited. Like you are jumping up and down."
Sounds like she
um
might balance you out a little bit there.
exactly. Yeah, yeah, that's exactly what she does. So a couple years ago, I actually competed in a figure competition where you pretty much lift a lot of stuff, do a lot of cardio, and eat chicken and broccoli until you are pale in the face.
Sounds
And then
sounds
you go,
great.
yeah, and then I know, and then you go get a spray tan, and then you learn how to walk in 5.5-inch heels on a stage under bright lights and make awkward poses, and then they give you swords and medals. So
Swords
yeah.
and medals, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, it was fun. So, yeah, that day I took home, I think, 4 medals and 3 swords.
Oh, well,
It was the only time I did it. I know it's not healthy long term to keep up that type of low carb lifestyle, but I definitely learned a lot about myself and the, willpower that I have, that I can pretty much do anything I set my mind to.
yeah, it sounds like you are not scared of making short-term sacrifices for long-term gain.
Correct. So, I don't know if you know, but, we're apparently in the middle of a pandemic.
Wait, what?
We're in the middle of a pandemic. Have you heard, Aaron? Um, so that was kind of a lightning bolt moment for me as well. Obviously, I'm very passionate about what I do, and it was very crazy to me that all of a sudden, with the stroke of a pen, I was deemed non-essential.
Oh, wow, yeah.
I'm I'm healthcare. I don't just fill teeth. I don't just watch people clean teeth. There is so much more to dentistry. I actually have books at my office that are titled Beat the Heart Attack Gene. And it actually talks about how periodontal disease is linked to heart attack, stroke, diabetes, Alzheimer's. So we do so much more than what they see. And what's crazy is our governor actually is married to a dentist, and so I could not for the life of me figure out why we were shut down for so long. So during that time, obviously, I had to homeschool my kids, but I also took to social media to try to continue to share positive things
Mhm.
and enlighten people, because in a time that was so dark for so many, wanted to be the light. A couple years ago, I joined a Facebook group called Mommy Dentist in Business. It's a huge group. We have, I think, almost 8,000 members in it, and it's all mom dentists. And being in that group and just being myself, I can't tell you how many people have private messaged me to say, "Oh my gosh, you're such an inspiration. You've inspired me to start running." And now this person, a few years ago that I inspired to start running after I did my half marathon, they are still running and still running races and doing well. It's not like I put a lot of effort into it. It's just what I was naturally doing. And I had no idea how many women out there really need to feel empowered. So I really decided, like, I think this is my purpose in life. And then after I heard enough people tell me that, my pastor's wife, my coach, and other people, they're like, "Yeah, you just need to be the light and empower other women." And so I've decided I'm just going to own that. I'm just going to be, I guess, proud of it. I mean, that might sound really weird, and I think women have a hard time accepting the fact if they're being praised for something, because I'm just like, "Oh, this is just what I do." I don't know why we're not as proud as we should be about our accomplishments, and we do have the ability to accomplish what we put our mind to if you're willing to put your mind to it.
Wow, just hearing you talk about that, it sounds like there's so much satisfaction. There's so much joy in your voice, where you're talking about having an impact in these women's lives. It's clear to hear that you take joy out of being an inspiration to other people. And when I hear you talk, Jen, I hear somebody who is driven. I hear somebody who has accomplished incredible things, built a wonderful family, has a relationship with your husband, and is making a difference in people's appearance when they come in, and of course it goes so much deeper than that.
Oh, yeah.
When you correct some of the things that people see when they look at themselves in the mirror, it changes everything. Somebody's smile is just such a huge way to communicate, and you're helping correct that, and you're in the process of doing that. You're building confidence in people and empowering them.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's incredible, Jen. I think you're doing great work. I think you're having an impact in people's lives, and that's just a wonderful thing. Your dad, I'm sure, is proud. Uh,
That's funny you say that. Oh my gosh, that is so funny that you say that. So I'm sure he is. My dad is a very interesting character. When I got married, the father-daughter dance that we danced to was The Greatest Man I Never Knew. And the premise of the song is that, she thinks her dad's amazing, but she didn't really, know him. And the last line of the song, which is why I chose it, was he never said he loved me. Guess he thought I knew. And so even to this day, I mean, I'm going to be 40 next year. My dad has never told me he loves me. Like he's never said, Jen, I love you ever. But I know he does, and one time I actually said, "Dad, are you proud of me? You've never even told me you're proud of me." And he's like, "You graduated high school not pregnant and you're not in jail." "Yeah, I'm proud." I'm like, "Wow, Dad." Way to set the bar high for your daughters. He's a hard worker. He's one of the smartest guys I know. He was a carpenter, union carpenter in the early 80s. So it was a little bit of a rough start in the beginning because nobody was building anything in the early 80s because the interest rates were so high on mortgages and such. But he found his way for the most of his career as a scaffold man. And so we grew up in Northwest Indiana, and most of my life that I remember, he would drive to Chicago to work and he scaffolded the skyscrapers, which obviously takes some balls to say it nicely. And so he was a hard worker. I was actually the first one in my family, as far as I know, to go to college, like direct line family, if you know what I mean. Like, my grandma and grandpa, they didn't go. My mom, they didn't she didn't go, dad didn't go to college, and but they were all it was a blue collar family, but I was blessed to be raised in that environment because they were such hard workers and they had an amazing work ethic. So, I mean, that takes a lot more. And I always think it's funny is that they always said, we want more for you than, we did of us, but they never pushed us to be anything. My sister, by the way, is a certified nurse anesthetist. And she's actually also a doctor. She has a doctorate in that. And so I was the first one to go to college. She was the second, and we're both doctors, which is just, crazy. But I'm looking at my kids, and we actually don't have the education 509 plan or whatever that thing's called, the education one, because I don't want to limit them on what they want to be. Right now, you can actually do very well owning an HVAC company. You can make way more money than you can as an ends or a welder or anything like that. Something in the trades, like what my dad does. Oh my gosh, they're killing it now because nobody wants to do that, you know? And so I don't want to limit my kids on what they want to do with their lives. I just want them to be happy and to be able to support themselves. And so that's why I love Mike Rowe too, because he's a big proponent of college isn't necessarily for everyone. Though I think
Yeah,
a business
yeah.
degree, if you're gonna go into that, I think a business degree would help. But yeah, if you got a strong work ethic, you're gonna make it way farther. Um, that
That is a good point. The strong work ethic, and again, like hearing you talk, you've got that strong work ethic in spades. You've got that for sure. You know, when I look at you, I see great things. I see an outgoing person, I see a brave person, I see a person who accomplishes things. I see great things. I see someone who's making an impact. I hear that, there's been some things that were difficult, in your life, some
Oh, yeah.
self-image things, some relationship things, but, I think those things have probably made you stronger
Oh,
overall
absolutely. Yeah.
and certainly made you who you are today, which is a very cool and
Thanks.
productive person. That's just great. You know, we're going to take a quick break here. And when we come back, I'd love to hear a little bit about one thing that's going really well in your life right now, and then one thing that you might be struggling with. So thanks a lot for tuning in. We'll be right back with more from Dr. Jen White. Welcome back to a quick chat with the unemployed alcoholic. I'm here with Dr. Jen White, or Mrs. Seymour, that she goes by at home when she's talking to the husband or the kids. And Jen, thank you so much for sharing a little bit about who you are and some of the things that have helped shape who you are. What's one thing that is going well in your life?
Okay, so I talked earlier about my mommy dentist and business group that I'm a part of, and I just really feel at home with these women, and I want them to all be successful and succeed. And I go to these conferences, and one of the speakers there was Jennifer Pierce, and I felt a connection with her, and I felt a connection with a couple things that other people said. Dr. Mark Costas, this is probably the one sentence that I loved more than anything about that entire summit. He said, "The number of uncomfortable conversations you are willing to have is directly proportional to the successes you will have."
Ooh,
I
that,
know, right?
yeah.
Yeah, good stuff. That might be like a little off or whatever on my quote, but I mean, you understand the concept. So I was sitting on the plane and I'm looking at it and going, like, things were going pretty good at the office, but I couldn't put my finger on. I'm like, something's off. And I'm busy, Aaron. I am so busy. There's no fluoride in the water up here. I'm busy. So I don't really have time to sit around and analyze what's going on. And so when Jennifer was talking up on stage, I just felt a connection and I felt like something was telling me I needed to talk to her. I actually didn't even talk to her at the summit. I called Grace later to ask about her, and she's like, "Jen, she's great. She will come into your office and she will find blind spots and, just, check her out." And so I connected with her, and since then, I've actually changed over about half of my team. Almost the entire clinical end has changed. And it was very hard for me because I'm very passionate about my people and I love my people. And when she told me some of the things that she saw, my first response, which I only remember because she tells me that's what I said, and I'm sure she's right, was, "But I love them."
Hmm.
And she's like, "Okay, let's work with it." And so I mean, we changed some things, and I tell you what, I've got the best freaking team. I really do. And I've also in the last couple years now um have really changed my relationship with God. I know you had a uh one of these interviews with somebody who talked a lot about their walk with God. And mine was I mean, I've always liked I've always gone to church. I've always um, wanted to be that person. But all of a sudden, people came into my life, and our neighbor across the street, passed away, and a pastor moved in. And I didn't think much of it, but then, like, life was in a little bit of a slump for me 4 years ago. Um, yeah, 4 years ago. And he was there. And so starting, it would have been like, January of 17, I started going to his church. And all of a sudden, I've got, new people come into my life, and I've really shifted my entire mentality, and my entire world is completely different now than it was 4 years ago. I I start my mornings with reading a devotional or the Bible. I journal and I pray and I do yoga. And it's a great way to start the morning. I prefer it in silence, but my children like to wake up really stupid early sometimes. But it's really changed things. I couple of weeks ago, I had my last, gosh, I hope it's my last major transition at my office, and I brought my prayer journal to the office marked with a bunch of sticky notes. And I actually shared with my team where I had prayed for the office, for this individual specifically, and then answered prayers. And I was just, we were blown away. So it really, if you're struggling with something, it's like if you can give it to God and let Him work it out, he'll work it out. It's really amazing. You don't really realize where he's going at the time, and it makes it hard. But then once you get there, you're like, holy cow. So the last couple weeks at the office, it's been just a positive, palpable energy, and I love it. I'm over the moon
Wow.
with the way things are going at the office. I mean, and people, they're going to be taken care of even better. We've got some new procedures in place to help more people. It's just it's amazing, and and it's so crazy that all of this can be traced back to just going to a conference and hearing somebody say the level of your success is determined by the number of difficult conversations you're willing to have.
As you tell that story, it seems like, fortunately, some holes or some inefficiencies or some problems came to light, and that led to having to make some difficult changes in your workplace.
Yes.
Sounds like those were even more difficult because you have a genuine compassion for the people that you work with.
Yes.
You have a love for them.
Yes.
But it sounds like there were people that were put into your life, the pastor that moved in across the street, the people that you met through this conference. There were people that breathed truth into your life and
Mhm.
helped prepare you to make the difficult changes. And because you were willing to have some difficult conversations, now the people on your team are more empowered and better positioned. And even the people that you had to make some tough decisions about that might not be on your team anymore, that was handled with grace and care.
I Yes, that's exactly what I hope, and even the ones that maybe don't talk to me or care for me much at all, and I know those are out there. I really want nothing but the best. I want them to be happy and empowered. It just doesn't look like it just wasn't going to happen here.
Yeah.
But as my coach says, just because God loves everybody doesn't mean we have to.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and that's part of the ugly part. That's part of the unfiltered part of being a business owner is
Oh,
that,
absolutely.
yeah, you have to make decisions for your customers. You have to make decisions for your team, even when that short term might not be the best for one individual.
I love Brene Brown. I don't know if you follow her much at all or read any of her stuff, but she talks a lot about vulnerability and how it's usually viewed as a weakness, but it's really a strength. And so I've embraced that. There's been times where I wasn't the best leader and I wasn't the best uh, boss for my team, and but I owned up to it and I apologize, and it's been great and interesting, and I think by doing that I've earned the trust and respect to my newer team members maybe faster than I could, just because I can say, I'm an open book. And one of my newest team members actually said when I apologized, is like, she said, "Doc, it takes a big person, to admit that they maybe didn't do the perfect right thing at that moment."
Yeah, I think that's a really good takeaway from this. With what we've talked about with social media, and there's a lot of fake out there. And if we could be genuine, if we could be real with people, I think there's a hunger for that. I think people are either sick of or getting sick of all the fake. And
Right.
so the photo with a zit, not because it's a photo with a zit, but because that's who you are.
Right.
The real conversations of, man, I've screwed up and I apologize and we'll move forward together. Those lead to just such wonderful things.
Oh yeah.
And every day I just try to be transparent and vulnerable and real with people. And it's so hard to do.
Oh yeah.
Even while talking about being transparent and real, it's easy to just say, "Oh yeah, that's just what I'm talking about." It's so difficult to do, but yet it's so rewarding. That's great to hear that that's something that's going well in your life right now, is some of the changes that have happened because of your faith, because of having people around you that can breathe value into your life, and because of the courage that you've had to be vulnerable. What's one thing that you might be struggling with right now, Jen?
I feel like right now the only thing I'm struggling with is my my boy. Oh god, he's a good boy. He's so smart, but I don't know if I'm trying to figure out how to build the work ethic and the care to care about school maybe a little more than he
Uh-huh.
does. He's more interested in doodling Minecraft characters, than focused on his schoolwork. And who knows? Maybe he's just going to be that C student that ends up being the next Adam Sandler. I don't know. He's quite the character. He's such a showman, very dramatic. Um, I think he could be a pastor. I don't know. He's something else. But just trying to make sure that I give my boys the mom they deserve, while also making sure they become productive, contributing members of society, and not spoil them. And so that they're living in my basement at 40. I don't know. It's tough because, they are such good, sweet boys. And so, you almost, and I have the means to spoil them a little bit more than I should. But I start to see, um, like, I don't know. We're hard on them, but they're from two dentists. We're perfectionists by nature, and so it's hard to remember that they're just kids, even though they act like. I mean, he's 8 going on 28 some days. They're he's still kids. They're still kids, so I have to find that balance to kind of let them be kids, but you know I don't know, not let them ruin my house. They're, they're, I think that's the thing that right now that I'm struggling with the most. And it's weird because I think as a girl, I just took such good care of my stuff. I love Legos, grew up with Legos. I always had our ping pong table actually turned into Legoville Just to give you an insight on the type of crazy person I am, I have a spiral notebook that has a like the census of Legoville. It had the people, and then what their shirt was, and what their pants was, where they lived, and then what their job was, and what their car was. And I had all of this information in a spiral notebook, and we had little Legoville, my sister and I, and these kids, they get a Lego kit and they put it together and it's like that for 3 minutes and then they destroy it and the instructions are gone and I'm just like, "Woo!" I don't do well with that. I have so many Lego kits in the basement still with the instructions in a box, like a shirt box, labeled kind of still together, you know what I mean? Like carefully taken apart so that you can easily put them back together, and there's no way they're gonna see those, not anytime soon, because 'cause they'll just destroy them,
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
don't know, it must be the difference between girls and boys because, I mean, my cousins destroyed all their toys too, and that must be also why boys' toys, are go for so much more on American Pickers because boys just destroyed everything, but so I'm having a hard time with, I guess letting boys be boys.
Well, that's gotta be tough. That's gotta be really tough to because you are a perfectionist, you are a driven person, and, if you see things in your most important relationships, your offspring, next to your husband and God, you know, if you see those things that conflict or contradict with something that you hold to be so important and true, that's gotta be tough to handle.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's my legacy, and
Yeah,
so
yeah.
and I feel like, especially with the 8-year-old, Zach, like I said, he's so gifted, he's so smart, but he just doesn't care to
Yeah.
do any of his schoolwork. But,
Well,
he's like,
there's 3 things.
he wants to make a video and he wants it on YouTube and he wants followers. And I'm like, how do you even know this crap?
Right, right. Well, and there's 3 things that really come to mind as I hear you, very openly and transparently share about the difficulties there. And one is I remember back to when I was a teenager, and I was not a good teenager. I was, I was a rebellious kid that was disrespectful to my parents, and my mom and I, we would bump heads. My dad and I would bump heads as well, but specifically, my mom and I would bump heads. But she was incredible at showing grace. And later in life, I asked her. I said, "Mom, how did you continually show grace towards me while I was being a prick towards you?"
Right?
And she said that she always thought about the long-term relationship over the short-term emotion.
Oh, that's
She
good.
always prioritized us having a lifelong relationship. So even when I was being a jerk, even when I was being disrespectful, the emotion that triggered in her, she would let go and think the lifelong relationship with my son is more important than the immediate emotion. That's one thing. The second thing comes from recovery. I come from a recovery background. I've actually, by the time this airs, barring me freaking out and drinking the Listerine or something, I will I'll be 4 years sober. And
Nice.
thank you. And one of the things that I've learned in recovery is the Serenity Prayer, and it says, "God grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference." And one of the things that I've learned is other people's behavior, other people's words, other people's decisions, other people's faith, 100% of the time, that falls into the category of things that I cannot control.
Correct.
And if I have the serenity to accept those things and to love those people, regardless of the things that I can't control, then that gives me the ability, the power to focus on the things that I can control. 3. My son and I, we would butt heads. When he was growing up, we would butt heads. Oh, actually, very similar to what you're talking about. He's an incredibly smart kid. So smart that he didn't really have to do what he was supposed to at school. So smart that when it came to doing homework, he'd rather not. But still, he'd go in and do well on the test. And he's like, this is stupid. Why would I have to do homework when I already know it? And that led to bad grades and that, and stuff like that. I remember one time we were in the dining room and he was sitting there and I was trying to make him do homework and he just wouldn't do it. And I mean, I flipped the table over. I got really mad. And it was I didn't hurt him, at least not physically. I mean, emotionally it probably wasn't a great experience for him to see dad flip a table. But I was so frustrated because I was so concerned about his future.
Right.
And yeah, and he wouldn't take it seriously. So here's why I tell that story, because he now has graduated with a great degree from a wonderful college, and he works for a very big company doing an important job, and he's doing very, very well. In fact, much better financially off than dear old dad, the unemployed alcoholic. But he's
Oh, how
doing
the tables have turned.
right, right. So now he comes over and flips a table over every once in a while
Yeah.
and tells me to get serious. No, I'm just kidding about
How
that.
old was he when you flipped the table? Just out of curiosity.
That was high school, so you've
Okay.
got things to look forward to, probably.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, it's like, okay, he's in 3rd grade right now, so I feel like, okay, if you're gonna screw up, this is the time to screw up, but yeah, high school, that's when you gotta get your act together.
Well, and he comes from good stock. You and Ben are both very intelligent people, very driven people, but that also comes with with being stubborn.
Oh,
So
yeah. Oh, yeah.
yeah, the
Yeah, they
conflicts
they both
likely
got
will,
that. Mhm.
yeah,
Escalate,
yeah,
drywall
yeah.
repair in my future.
Right, right. Make sure you have a little budget set aside. Reallocate some of the Lego budget to drywall repair. Yeah, yeah. But anyway, my son and both of my two daughters, beautiful girls that are incredibly productive in society. My oldest daughter, she's a frontline healthcare worker, and she's helping people and she's doing great. And my youngest daughter, she works in childcare and she cares deeply for these young kids. And my son, as I said, he's got a good job and he's contributing. But all three of them, we had moments of conflict, we had moments of strife growing up. But this upcoming Wednesday, all three of them are going to come hang out with me and their mom, and we're going to have a game night, and we're going to sit around together, and we're going to laugh, and we're going to enjoy a wonderful relationship that all five of us have with each other and with the family as a whole. It's going to be wonderful, and you've got that in your future as well. Wow, that got a little away from me there.
No, it was great. I appreciate it.
John, thank you so much for sharing again who you are, what's going well, and what you're struggling with. Again, I'm just going to restate it. You're doing it. You are positively influencing people around you. You're living in accordance to your faith. You're being transparent. You're being genuine. You are doing wonderful things. How can people reach you if they'd like to get a hold of you?
So to reach out to me, probably the easiest way to do that would be to check out our Facebook page or Instagram page. It's Bright White Dental, Brite, white like the color dental. And our website is www.my bright, white like the color dental.com. And any of those avenues are actually going to get to me. I do all of the social media for the office myself. I know a lot of people don't, but I actually enjoy it. And I feel like it helps patients and people know that it's me and it's not a computer posting.
I follow you on social media, and I'm always impressed at the pictures of bloody teeth, and
Thanks. I know,
it's
I
either gonna be,
it's gonna be a
inspirational.
yeah, it's either an inspirational quote, a cute picture of my kids, or bloody teeth.
Well, this has been a great chat.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
has been really fun, so, yeah, and
Yeah,
thank you
thank
for
you so
following
much for
me on.
taking the time to pop by and have a quick chat. This was a lot of fun.
This was a lot of fun, and I actually got a lot of good information, I think, for myself to help me with the, where I was struggling, so I really appreciate that going forward, but, like I said before, I think God puts people in your path when they need to be there, and, you just happened to message me right when I guess I needed to meet with you. So
Yeah, my pleasure, my pleasure. If you ever want to reach me, the best way to do so is through my website, theunemployedalcoholic.com. There's, of course, this podcast. There's the other podcast that I'm involved with, the Clean Comedy Time podcast. And there's also videos of stand-up comedy. There's some stories. There's links. There's just a ton of other stuff. So check that out if you have not already. And actually, if you have checked it out, go back and see it again, because there's always new stuff every day. Thanks for being you, and have a great day.